Oh,
We're rolling, buddy.
rolling.
Technical issues be damned. So we'll jump in.
Yeah.
Episode 35, Mike.
All right. Heck yeah.
Goes by quick, doesn't it?
Had a little bit of a slow start. It's getting worrisome there for Ben. We're going to get in.
Right, exactly. Okay, so before we jump in, the usual housekeeping stuff. So the metrics are kind of interesting. So it tells us that we're getting unique new viewers on different platforms. So people that like it their first time is listening to episode 33 or 32. And I was thinking, some of those people I just take for granted. They know what we're doing and who we're about and all that kind of stuff. They may not. So I thought it would be cool to encourage them to go back and listen to some past shows. And instead of just saying, hey, go listen to 34 shows in a row and get the feel for who we are, I picked out a couple that I think are pertinent. So here they are. You ready?
Yep.
Episode 1, I think, is a great place to start. Introduction to how I started doing this and what my story is and how my last year of my life. Our first 2 episodes with you are episodes 3 and 4, and they're pretty freaking good.
Yeah,
I've gone back and checked those out. I'm like, these are good. If I wasn't part of this podcast and I came across those, I would like them.
I agree.
So episode 1, 3, 4, and then episode 12. I like 12. It's the one that I called All Out Life because it's from beginning of January. So it lays out all the targets and things for 2024. And then as we're going to shoot about halfway through the year already, it's interesting to go rewatch that one and see if I'm somewhat on track or not. Spoiler alert, fairly on track.
Okay, that's right.
So that feels pretty good. So follow along. I want to encourage the audience, follow along, engage with me. My Instagram is where I'm most active, at Real Jim Moats. The show has an Instagram as well, at Ministry of Freedom Show, and email. So you can email. I read those every day as they come in. I'll respond to them. Social at ministryoffreedom.show. Got all that out of the way. Any questions on that, Michael?
Well, so people know that even though you're kind of a big time guy with a book and a podcast and all that, they could actually reach you. You don't have people. They're going to read your emails.
I have 0 people.
Okay.
I have a small office. I've got this laptop and I'm making it happen. So yeah, I'm happy to respond
to talk to Jim Moats. They're getting Jim Moats.
They are. Yeah, for now. Maybe we'll get to it. We'll get to that day.
Next year,
in all seriousness, that's the fun part. I would never not do that. I think it's
right.
I love doing it. So that's cool. So yeah, big weekend in my life. You ready to dive into it?
Dude, yeah, I know you've got a lot going on. This has been a long time coming. You planned it out for months in advance. You put in months of work, but you planned it for months in advance. So it's really crazy that this is the end.
Yeah, it's really surreal. So for the audience's benefit, we're taping this on Saturday the 14th. So this comes out Tuesday morning. So we're a few days prior to the Tuesday morning that it comes out. It's Father's Day weekend. And so there's a few reasons this is an important weekend for me. So first off, I'm finishing 75 hard today. So what I have left is my outdoor ruck and making sure I'm not getting drunk and I'm eating right and drinking water. So I think I'm going to get through it. And that's been something. I started on April 2nd, scheduled it out to where if I made it through 75 days consecutive, it would finish on today. So that's pretty rewarding. It's a blessing. It's amazing.
And so how far in advance did you pick that date though? So you've done 75 days of it, but you picked you were very planning on when you were starting. So
yeah,
end date. So
I picked this about 6 months ago. I bought this deal online I like this guy named Jesse Itzler. He's a really good follow on social media. His wife is a chick that invented Spanx. So they're very entrepreneurial family. He's a pretty cool dude. And he's our age. He's super into fitness and stuff. So he came up with this product called the Big Ass Calendar. And it's actually true. I mean, his calendar is probably, 6 feet wide, probably 5 feet tall. So I have that put up down in the gym at my house. And so I have these mini sticky notes that I'll put on there for different things. Like in January, start the Def Reset thing that I wanted to do. And then back in maybe December, when I got the calendar, I went up to April 2nd and put start 75 hard. I went to June 14th and put 75 hard finishes. So I was looking at that this morning. I'd done lifting my 75th strength session in a row. So I'm standing in the gym. It's very surreal. I got the house to myself this weekend, so it's kind of quiet. And I'm just looking at this calendar, it just with gratitude and thinking, man, this is amazing. Because, you know, if you get sick or any of a number of things can happen to derail getting that done. And so that worked out great. So I planned it about 6 months ago.
So 6 months in advance to do your 2.5 months in.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned that you haven't drank during these 75 days, right?
Correct. So
combination today leads into what's tomorrow? 21.
So tomorrow is also my 21-year sobriety birthday.
21 years.
Yes. So also Father's Day. Father's Day was always a big deal for me. Later in my dad's life, his last 6-7 years, he would always come and stay with me on Father's Day weekend. We had some kind of cheesy rituals, but we would on Father's Day Sunday, we'd always watch the final round of the US Open because that's always the golf. It always falls on Father's Day. So we'd watch that together. We always got this Blue Bunny ice cream, and we'd each have this huge bowl of ice cream. We'd have this huge bowl of popcorn, and we just sat in my basement and spent the day together and watched these things and ate this junky food. So tomorrow, I'm not going to do the ice cream, but I'm for sure making the biggest freaking bowl of stovetop buttery popcorn you can imagine because I haven't had anything like that in months. So yeah, and then the last thing that's culminating this weekend, God willing, and there's a caveat here because we're at Amazon's mercy at this point, but my book is scheduled to be released tomorrow morning on Amazon's platform. So I've been talking to the publishers and doing final things and getting it ready all week. This morning I reached out and haven't heard back from them. I said, are we still on for tomorrow? As of yesterday, by all accounts, we are. But there's always that in the back of my mind where I'm like, oh boy, I'm going to turn on Amazon. I'm going to go click on Amazon tomorrow and it's not going to be there yet. And that could possibly happen. And if it's a day or two delayed, it's how it works. Right. I'm going to let that stuff get to me. But that's what's culminating in this 2 days. It's a super special time for me. And I try not to be a big me guy, but that's a lot of stuff. And you know what? I freaking I needed it. This has been an interesting year and a half, and people can go back and they know my journey and stuff. I want to read something to you I got from a text last night. This dude sent me, you went through a year that would break most men, or at least turn them onto a bad path. Look at the list of victories you just listed off. Genuinely proud of you. Those things mean a lot because I think that there are seasons you go through where there's excuses, and I think a lot of dudes are looking for them. I'm not looking for an excuse to go drink or use drugs or get off the path of discipline and consistency that I'm on. I'm blessed to do it. That's a blessing to me. I thank God every morning that I'm sober. So I always get congratulations on that, and I welcome them, and I think that's cool. But I'm like, that's just who I am. I don't feel I need congratulations for that because I don't white knuckle my way through sobriety. Oh, I made it another day. But it's nice, and their heart's in the right place.
I can tell you, like from my perspective, obviously you and I have been friends a long time, but a lot of our friendship, like our hours of FaceTime, were spent while you were drinking.
Yes.
Like we lived together for years. And so in my mind, it's easier to picture that gym than this gym, even though, because like we were so close at that time. We lived together so long. And just like, it's so like, it's easier for me to, like, if you call, somebody calls it, oh, Jim got drunk. I mean, that's easier for me to believe.
Yeah.
Even though you went through now almost, so you've been sober in your life over 50% of your life, assuming you didn't drink in the first 8 years.
Yeah. So I've lived as an adult sober more than not. So
right. So that's what's crazy.
I'm 52. So I'm 52 years old. I started drinking when I was 15 years old.
Okay.
And drank through about would it end up being 31? That seems accurate to me.
So you drank for 16 years.
So I drank for 16 years and every other substance and everything, and then have been not drinking for 21. But a third of the time you knew me, that was who I was. And I wasn't just a guy that drank. My identity was wrapped up in it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just
proud of it. I mean, that's the thing. You're an all or nothing guy. It's like,
Yeah, with everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's crazy, dude. Anyway, so you got a book coming out.
I do.
Where is that going to be? Obviously, it's going to be on Amazon. What's
the title? The plan is it gets released on Amazon, hardcover and softcover. Hopefully live by the time this comes out, even with
nothing else, even if it isn't live tomorrow, hopefully definitely live by Tuesday morning.
By the time this podcast airs, yeah. The next plan is then to have it on Audible, and we're probably a month or two away from that to get the Audible stuff all recorded and set up. So and then an ebook is going to be available as well. So those are the plans. Now, as far as retail, Barnes and Noble is a difficult in. You need a go-between. So you can't just have like your publisher talk to them. You have to hire this other go-between who takes a portion of it. So you're essentially making about $1 a book if you sell them at Barnes and Noble. But it is cool to have your book in Barnes and Noble. That would be neat for me. I don't know if that'll happen. There's a chain in the country called Book Barn. Have you ever heard of Book Barn?
Yeah.
We're trying to get the book in Book Barn, which is probably going to happen.
Okay.
And then we're going through the process there. I didn't realize there was a compliance process in this, but to get it put in libraries throughout the country. So public and school libraries.
Yeah.
So it'll be certainly available. And I think a lot of people buy books from Amazon. I mean, that's where I get all my books.
The deal, dude. I buy everything off Amazon.
Yeah. So I like to go in Barnes and Noble and I touch the books and I walk around and I like hanging out in there and having a Starbucks and checking out books. And then I go home and click on Amazon and buy them. So I'm probably one of the reasons Barnes and Noble is going to be out of business in a year.
Right on.
But
that's okay.
Yeah.
So the title, obviously I actually do know the title, but yeah, dude, how does that come up? I mean, so the last time we talked, it was My Past, Your Future, right?
Correct. Okay. So this is an interesting story. So the book is divided out into two parts, and part of it is memoir, autobiographical, and the second part is more practical advice. And I talk about alcohol and physicality and faith and some things of that nature. And helping people have a better life, essentially, is the second part of the book. So I was just going to call it My Past, Your Future. And then there was a byline that you always have to have on a title. I had a 90-minute meeting a few weeks ago with like the editing team, the publishers. So we're all on this Zoom together. And the purpose was they wanted to talk about the title. So instantly I have my defenses up. My boy, this is the title. I'm thinking, I'll do this. And so I'm a little bit defensive at first, and I'm like, okay, this is what they do. I'm going to hear them out, and let's hear what they have to say. So they said, it's just not, there's no punch to it. It's not that catchy. We want to talk. We want to get down to the nitty gritty of what's really your story. And they said, one of them said, obviously you had a moment that there was a transition. Something happened, right? So you used to be this, then you weren't. Something happened there. Tell me about it. So I give a little bit of the canned answer of my testimony. Well, I was just tired of living that kind of a life, and I decided to, I turned to Christ, and that's all great, and it's a neat testimony, I think. But she kept pushing me, and it was starting to piss me off a little bit, to be honest. And so I get a little bit loud, and I said, "Okay, do you want to hear how desperate I was?" I said, "I was in my bedroom bawling, and I asked God to kill me. Okay, is that what you all would like to hear?" And this lady gets really emotional. I get goosebumps when I tell the story. It was an emotional Zoom call. She starts crying. So she's got tears coming down her face. And she said, that's what we're trying to get to. We just came up with the title to your book because that's what the punch is. That's what happened. And I said, okay. And then we worked together. You throw all these ideas out and you come up with the byline to the book. And so the actual title, it's so long I don't have it memorized. So here's kind of the front and back of the book on a piece of paper. Obviously, it folds. And so here's the deal. The title of the book is called I Asked God to Kill Me, and it's for the reason that I escaped. And the byline is how my journey from despair and addiction will help you optimize your life through discipline, consistency, and faith. So the gist of it is it's kind of two different categories. It's self-improvement and it is Christian. So, and I'm going to read some of the introduction because I say it's a Christian book. There's some stuff in it. Right. It's PG-13 probably.
Yeah.
But so that's how we came up with the title. And I think it has more punch to it. I think it's more impactful. There was also, I always look for what most people call coincidences in life and in situations. And because I don't believe in coincidences, I think God is working through all of this stuff. I was trying to figure out, like, they always want some form of artwork, something to put at the top of the pages, or, that type of stuff. And I'm like, she said, maybe we could put like a crown, or we could put some sort of like fencing, or I said, I don't know. Let me think on it. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm in this big group thread with a group of dudes from church every morning. We send each other scriptures and encouraging messages. And a lot of the dudes respond with the emoji that's these like crossed swords. That's kind of their response. And it's kind of a men's ministry type of thing. So I was thinking, all right, I'm going to get with the publisher this morning, and I'd like to see if we can incorporate these crossed swords in there somehow. Before I open my computer, I get an email from her, because she works like 1 a.m. till like 5 a.m. It's very odd. So we have different hours. She had already sent me, I did a lot of research, and I wanted to know how you felt about this. She sent me the artwork that I was going to send her.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, that's another God wink. Thanks, Allie, for the reference. That's God winking on what we're doing, and it's confirmation. So that's pretty cool. It's been a neat process. So that's the book title and how we came to it. And then, you design everything. What do you want the font to look like? What color do you like? And, came up with this army green type of a color that I like. It's kind of my favorite color. So you design everything from the ground up, and it's been a process, and it's to see it come to fruition is pretty neat. It's a little, there's nerves that go along with it, not because, some people will read it and think this sucks and here's a 1-star review. I don't care about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Some people are going to be bumped by some of this. My mom is going to be bumped by some of this, because I tell a pretty raw story about, people that know me very, very well will know that my mom left me when I was a teenager, and left my dad and I while he was on a vacation, left me in a house by myself while he was gone for 2 weeks. And it's always led to me having some abandonment stuff, and, I'm unpacking all that. And so I tell that story, and, I had a conversation with her the other day for the first time about this coming out in the book. And I said, hey, I need to tell you something before you read this. Then, there's people that I used to work with that I tell some real truths about, not disparagingly and, picking on them, but I tell some truths of my perspectives on what happened to me as I exited my businesses. I exited my relationship with Tina, at 52 years old. I was with Tina for 21, 22 years of my life. Yeah. So she's a big part of the book as well. And there's some things that Tina's going to read about herself that's probably going to upset her and bump her. And I don't like that necessarily, but there are truths in it. But overwhelmingly, it comes across as, this is a guy that's carrying some baggage and is a little bit bitter, but is at a place where he's figuring it out. So that's where the apprehension lies a little bit. I did change some names. I was nice enough to change Tina's name to the letter T. All right. So that's kind of funny. So there's that. I want to jump off real quick, because I don't want to forget this. We always want to incorporate scripture into the show, right?
Oh, yeah.
So yesterday you sent me that you wanted to throw in Colossians 3:23. I'll read that. It says, work willingly at whatever you do, as though you were working for the Lord rather than for people. And you said, this makes me think of you, Jim. So throw that into the show. So I wanted to throw that in there. Tell me why. What about me? What reminds you?
Just your entire change of your whole life. I mean, you have dedicated the new Jim Moats, the last 21 years has been dedicated to the Lord. And that's who you think every day about how you should live your life according to the Lord rather than according to man and according to your bosses. But also you set all these crazy goals and worked at them, dude. I mean, just like the fact that you had the forethought to think about, well, I'll start at 70. Most people, when they're thinking about starting 75 hard, they're definitely not planning it on around ending on this certain day. And then, by the way, I'll write a book and then it'll be released that day. And then that'll fall in my 21-year sobriety. And that'll be Father's Day I used to spend that with my dad. I mean, you just had so much. I mean, and obviously the sobriety date, just happens to fall then. But the fact that you're living your life in this manner, that you're planning these things so far out, and you made even the podcast here, you made a plan. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to have the podcast. I mean, you honestly are working really hard towards goals that are obviously inspirational. I mean, whether it's the Lord working through you or you working towards making God happy, whichever way you want to look at it. It's pretty crazy to me. It actually does. The fact that you've laid this all out and here this whole plan's coming together today and tomorrow, Amazon willing.
Yeah, right. Yes, that's right.
But it's crazy, man. It's really...
Well, I appreciate that. So I'll speak to that. So thank you, first of all. To me, it's a testimony of let's do big things so we can show people that God can do big things through ordinary dudes. That I always thought that since for 21 years, as you said, and it's carried me through a lot of things. If we're thinking we're working for an earthly boss, or I need to impress this person, those things waver so much because, well, he or she wants me to do this and please them this way this week, and next week that will change, and I need to change who I am. When you're working for the Lord, there's a consistency that comes and an authenticity that comes that people will end up respecting and follow. Leadership to me has to be authentic first. And I just didn't think there was any way for me to lead other people, especially lead them to the Lord ultimately, if I was trying to please people, because this part came pretty easy to me. I never really cared about pleasing people. Yeah. I went from trying to please me to trying to please God. And there was never a season of my life where I was trying to please people because I never cared. It was, what do I want? And now what does he want? So that part for me was pretty easy. But I appreciate you saying that. And I think that everybody's job goes better. Their vocations, whatever they're doing, they go better when they're realizing they're working for something bigger than Joe with the business card and the title on his door.
Well, like you said, bosses change their mind every day. It could be week to week. You know, your boss could be like, this is how we do business. And then all of a sudden they go to a seminar or read a book. And it's like, oh, we've been doing it all wrong. Yep. And why didn't somebody tell me this sooner? And now we're changing everything.
That's right.
And the number of edits in the Bible over the last couple of thousand years really haven't been that significant.
No, the translations have taken some liberties that they probably shouldn't have taken. But boy, that overall message stands up.
Yeah. Not a lot of edits.
For sure. That's good. Well, I appreciate you saying that, man. Yeah. Any other questions, or would you be cool if I jumped in and read the introduction?
Yeah, I think you should read the introduction and give us the taste of the book.
All right. So here's the introduction from I Asked God to Kill Me. This work is dichotomic. Since this is my first book, I wanted to throw in a big word at the beginning. Don't get used to it. This book is forged on the cornerstone of Christ, but you'll encounter some F-bombs in here. You'll come to see I'm a man with a truly transformed heart, but I'm still battling anger, resentment, and uncertainty. This book is a dichotomy because I'm a dichotomy. And as you'll soon discover as we take this ride together, so are you. This work is unlike any you've picked up before, and that is intentional. My life is intentional, and your life will become intentional as well. This book represents the culmination of 52 plus years of my life, the fulfillment of a dream, and the beginning of a vision that I've had for more than a decade. As we become acquainted within these pages, you'll come to realize what a massive understatement I am making when I say these words. I am not an exceptional man. Okay, if I'm not exceptional, then what and who am I, and why should you care? I am self-deprecating and arrogant, intelligent, driven, obsessed, funny, charming, quick-witted, manipulative, charismatic, aggressive, selfish, faithful, committed, alert, healthy, fit, anxious, emotional, regimented, disciplined, kind, loyal, and loving. You agree? Am I those things?
You are those things.
You should care because I'm a little bit of everything you are, have been, and will more than likely become, all rolled into one dude who has the means, desire, and fortitude to help you achieve a better life, if you're among the willing. This book is unique because I'm unique. I live a life of joy but little happiness, intimacy but little love, entertainment but little fun, successes but few victories. I want to talk about that real quick.
Yeah.
I've shared that with somebody that was taken aback by that part a little bit. I live a life of joy but little happiness, intimacy and little love, entertainment but little fun, successes but few victories. And as I was unpacking that with this person, I said, well, here's in a nutshell what I was trying to convey. One of those things in each of those is a choice, and the other one in my heart relies on other things happening or other people allowing me to feel them. So happiness and joy are different. Joy is something I choose. The Bible's very clear. It says we can rejoice in trials and that we should rejoice in trials, experience joy even when we're going through garbage. That's a choice that we have and a choice that I consciously try to make. Happiness is about a lot of other things and feelings falling into place. Intimacy, but little love. Intimacy, and that's not, people automatically might go to like a sexual type of a thing. Intimacy is the choice I make to draw close to somebody. Like if I want you to be my friend and I want to spend time with you and trust in you and all those things, I have an intimacy I've chosen with you. But love, a part of that is, are you giving that back to me? Have you chosen to give something back? Entertainment, but little fun. I can choose what entertains me, but fun, that's a whole different thing to me. I'm entertained all the time, but I'm not out having fun, right? I have the house to myself this weekend. I'm going to spend a lot of time by myself, but I'm going to be freaking entertained, dude.
Yeah.
And I'll be smiling and laughing, probably talking to myself because I'm a weirdo. And that could be fun, but entertainment is what I choose. I don't need somebody else. Successes, but few victories. The victories are based a lot upon a metric that society or whoever is going to place upon you. And successes to me are things that I can choose to chase and set where those benchmarks are. And I'll unpack that a little bit. But does that make sense? Am I saying that the right way?
Yeah.
I'll continue. My passion is being on the path, reveling in the journey while not really giving much thought to reaching the destination. In other words, I'm more of a stick chaser than a carrot guy. I'm a dude who walks my talk, who will stand up to power and even seek out confrontation, who will never bend a knee or kiss the ring, and who will fight for all of us when they come knocking at the door. One more thing, I struggle to accept and understand consequences, so beware. People close to me have always told me that I just have a hard time grasping consequences. I don't know. I guess that's true. I guess I've never really cared.
Yeah.
So that's who I am and why you should care enough to accept the exchange that I'm offering of your time for the value you'll get from reading or listening to this work and discovering the stories and lessons herein. Let's go then. This book is written in what I refer to as my voice. In other words, if you and I were hanging out and having coffee and getting to know each other, this is what you'd hear. Again, intentional. Too many books I've read or listened to seem like the author is elevating himself or herself above the target audience. I don't like being condescended to any more than you do. I won't do it. You'll be hanging out with a person who's been immensely blessed, had some successes, made dumb choices, battled booze and drugs and most every vice known to man, been through heartache, grief, and loss, had his ass beaten on a few occasions, found the true meaning of life through getting to know Jesus Christ, and who has an unending passion to help other people get all they desire from their lives. That's me. Questions? Good?
Dude, it is good. There's a lot going on there, obviously, but you're covering your whole life, man. So there is a lot to digest there. So I didn't realize, I don't know why. I guess I always kind of thought that the book started with adulthood. So you actually do delve into your childhood some too. Obviously, you're just saying with your mom, your dad.
I do.
Is there a lot of that, or?
So there's not a ton of it. There's a couple, and it's broken down by year, and I'll get into a little bit of that as we read the intro. But it's the first part's broken down by years, and they're actually out of order too. So I went round and round with the editor and publisher team about this too. Like, we need to put these years in order. I said, nope. Not doing that. And I'll explain why as we read the introduction. But there's a few of those years from my high school time. There's a couple from when I was a child, going back to when I was 6 years old for one of them. And then 2023, I broke down by the month. So here's January, here's February, and there's some stuff in here. So let's go to this weekend. Obviously, this is an important weekend for me. Last year at this time, I was sitting in my old house and I was by myself at my laptop and I was typing up a post I wanted to put on social media. So it was on my 20th sobriety birthday. And I typed it all out and I never put it on social and never showed it to anyone. But I put the whole thing in the book. And it's pretty heartfelt. So the way it's broken down is pretty cool, but it's mostly from there's two sections, I think, two small years that I break down from my childhood, and then some from high school, and it gets into adulthood, all the way up till recent history.
Yeah.
All right. I'll read on. This seems like a good time to bring up my formal education. I graduated high school near the middle of my 84-person class with a 2.1 GPA. I attended college for 4 years. 3 of those were at a 2-year community college. Read that again.
Yeah.
My final year was at the University of Iowa. I earned exactly 3 credit hours that year. Final tally, 4 years, 0 degrees. Good. Part 1 of this book describes my past. One word to summarize this section: trauma. It consists of many distinct and impactful events and stories from my life that are categorized by the year in which they took place. These aren't a day-by-day breakdown, but rather a broad overview of a part of that particular year. These events were chosen because they, in varying ways, helped shape me into the man I am and were integral in forming my worldview. Many of these events were painful to recall and put to paper. My hope is that you can sense my intense emotions and even visualize the tears that hit the keyboard as I worked through this process. And that's authentic. This was tough, man.
Yeah.
There was many days that I had to stop. I can't even see. I'm like wiping my eyes. I'm like, man, why am I even doing this? Why am I putting myself through this? I've done a good enough job of compartmentalizing all this stuff and cramming it so far down. Why do I want to rip these scabs off? But I'm happy that I did now, but it was certainly a labor. Why am I sharing so many stories like these and far fewer victories? Because it's necessary. Because boasting about my wins brings you no value. But being transparent about my struggles and heartaches just might. My life's traumas have made me who I am today, and who I am today is the man you're trusting to help you live an optimized life. Life is pain. Pain is life. Far too many so-called influencers and self-help gurus are patting themselves on the back while posing for pictures in front of rented supercars and Airbnb beach pads. You'll get no lasting nor relatable value from them. You will sense my pain. I'm brutally honest about it. I'm an overcomer. You'll sense bitterness, resentment, anger, and regret as you read part 1. No apologies for that. It's how I feel. It's who I am. It's freaking raw and real. You'll notice that 23 is broken down into more detail, monthly detail. Again, intentional. You'll understand when you get there. The months of 2023 are in chronological order, but the years in part 1 are not. These essays are arranged in the same order in which I wrote them. Why? Because I want you to have as close to the same experience reading these essays as I did while I was writing them. So that's what I was trying to explain to the publishers. I'm like, I've got an idea in my head. As they came to my heart, they went onto the paper. That's what I want the reader to experience. Like they were sitting in my office with me and I'm talking to them about, hey, this is on my heart today. And then this. I want them to feel connected to work. Some of the names have been changed, but others haven't. These are my best recollection of these events, and I apologize in advance to anyone who knows me and has an issue with exact dates, times, or even specific events. It's my life. These are my memories. Deal with it. Why do I need to share these events with you? It's because part 2 of the book, the Your Future portion, will not have the maximum impact unless we get to know each other a bit prior to me guiding you down the path toward meeting the best version of yourself. At the end of part 2 is the conclusion to the book called Before We Part. I strongly encourage you to set aside some uninterrupted time to focus on this final message, as it was specifically designed to put a closing parenthesis on the book, while at the same time opening the door to your optimized life. My journey's been interestingly entertaining. Here are some of the things I've been in my 52 years. Fit, fat, addicted, sober, married, divorced, wealthy, poor, afraid, fearless, strong, weak, timid, courageous. I've been the statue and the bird. Sometimes you get dumped on, sometimes you do the dumping. This is a book for the willing. It's for you if you're willing to do what it takes to go from here to there, whatever those look like in your life. This book poses the implied question, do you want to get well? If the answer is yes, please continue and get ready to improve quickly. If the answer is no, not really, I don't know, or anything other than freak yeah, please continue as well. After all, you've already bought the book, and what's the worst thing that could happen? You may come to the opinion that I'm bullshit and call me out on it. No problem. That's okay with me as long as you call me out on the Ministry of Freedom social pages so I can use the fresh content. After reading this book, you might just walk away with one nugget that could change the trajectory of your life. Take the chance. I won't let you down. I'm solid. I'm for real. I've stood up with courage against those who would demand I make an exchange of my dignity, pride, and honor for their offer of mere comfort and money. I'll also stand with and for you. I left the marketplace after 27 years and started a podcast called the Ministry of Freedom Show with Jim Moats. Please like and subscribe on all platforms, as they say. Why? Because the most rewarding part of my career in the auto industry was impacting the lives of my coworkers and using that impact and influence to help them come alive in the important areas of life, while at the same time giving them the tools to excel in the more practical tasks. I was able to do this on an important but smaller scale, and I know God was calling me to increase his kingdom through the reaching of many who would receive what I have to offer to improve their lives and the lives of their families. Are you still with me? Good. It's time to get better. Then we dive in.
All right.
So, yeah, man, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And I think it sets it up, and it'll become clear once people start diving in. And some of these stories are going to be, people aren't going to believe it. You know most of them.
Yeah. But I'm still excited to read them all.
Yeah. But some of the stuff like from my childhood and stuff, you may remember.
Yeah.
But you may have forgotten. They'll come back to you once you're hearing me talk to you about them.
Yeah.
But there's a really good chance you're like, oh, shoot, I forgot that, or I didn't know he went through that. And oh, man. So, I think it'll be interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited to read it.
So I'm excited for it to get out there to everybody. And I'm going to put links up everywhere. So once Amazon gets it live, then they send you the link. So everything's done according to how they want to get these things handled. So once Amazon sends the link, that'll go up on all the Instagram, all my social stuff. I'm even going to jump in and redo my LinkedIn profile. I'm going to put it on Pinterest. I'm going to blast the heck out of this thing. So I'm going to wear everybody out with, here's how you can get the book. And I hope I get I hope I get feedback from it. I welcome the good and the bad. It'd be naive to think everyone's going to be like, oh, this thing's great. I'm really glad you did this. But hopefully there's some, you know what I mean? Yeah.
You're going to add author to your LinkedIn profile?
Dude, I don't know. Is that what people do?
You're an author, dude.
You
put a lot of time and effort into this. Own it.
Yeah. So I mostly am going to put just pictures of the book, put the links up. Please go buy the book. So that's what I would ask people, like, subscribe and do all that kind of stuff. But you know what I need is you want to help the mission and help what we're trying to get done here and to work with me on these strategic goals that I have. And I've got bigger plans than this. This is the tip of the iceberg. I'm not sitting here asking for people to send me checks, and I'm not a 501c3 as they're called, or whatever that term is for a nonprofit. Yeah. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for people to invest in themselves, buy this book, and if it impacts your life, buy it for your team. I can't tell you how many times I've bought 10 books, had them show up in my office, and then I pass them out to my team at work, and we're talking about them once a week. Yeah. This is that kind of a book. The first half, maybe that's not something for a corporate team environment, but certainly the second part of the book, with the practical advice on strategic and tactical thinking and improving your life and practical actionable steps. These are things that any high-powered team is going to read, and if they implement, it's going to change that trajectory. I believe it 100%. I was going through they sent me a copy of it. It's just online. So you flip through on your laptop, and I'm reading it, and I'm trying to do it as objectively as I can. But in all honesty, I even yelled out to Allie. I said, I got to tell you, if I had a highlighter in my hand, there's highlightable, because I always read with a highlighter.
Yeah,
going through my books, and I would be highlighting a lot of this stuff. I feel really good about the finished product. I'm excited to start the next book. My plan is to try to put out one a year. for the foreseeable future and figure out how I can get better. This should be the worst book I ever write. That's my mentality, right?
Yep.
And I think it's pretty freaking good. And I wouldn't put anything out there that I wasn't proud of. And I appreciate everyone that's asked me about it. I get asked every day, when is it going to be available? How do I buy it? So that's encouraging, because I do need to sell some. And it is kind of at this point, it's not a for-profit operation. It's a to break even operation.
Right.
That would be the main target at this point. But dude, man, I appreciate your kind words. Thank you for coming on here. I also want to have you on the show more. I want us to be doing this way more frequently. And I think at some point, if I'm reading between the lines, you're going to be a little more local to me on a full-time basis than you have been in past years. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get that feeling. And you even put on a collared shirt, man. I don't know if you got church or court today or what you got going on, bro. But
I'm going to let you know that I put on this collared shirt because I thought today was a big show.
Dude, I appreciate it. I have a t-shirt on that says Cats and Coffee.
Like, where are you going? I said, I got the podcast with Jim today. I said, it's a book release that he's finishing his 75 hard, and tomorrow's his 21-year sobriety. This is a big show.
It is. It's I don't know if it's a big show, but it's a big weekend for me. It's humbling.
It's big to me, man. You, like I say, as a guy who doesn't plan, I'm never good at that. I fly by the seat of my pants. And I've made huge decisions in my life, absolutely on a phone call or,
Yeah.
One of the times, and you were around back then, I bought a house to fix up, and the guy I was buying it from, it had been on fire. And I was giving $7,000 for the house. And as I was on the phone with the guy, he worked for Mattel Corporation, and he had been transferred to Taiwan. And so then he's like, yeah, I need to get rid of this. And he's like, I got this apartment building I need to get rid of. I'm like, tell me about it. And you'll remember the apartments down on
Fifth Avenue. Yes, I do.
27 Fifth Avenue. I'm like, what are you thinking? And he's like, oh, I need $220,000 for it. So I'm on the phone to talk to somebody about a $7,000 house. I bought the apartment building sight unseen. I'm like, would you do land contract with 10% down? He's like, okay. And we discussed the interest rate. I'd never looked at it. And of course, we didn't have Google or any of the internet stuff then.
Yeah.
Once he and I struck a deal was the first time I drove down to look at what I'd purchased. That's how I've always lived my life. So the fact that you live your life to, I'm going to write a book and I'm going to have it released on my 21-year sobriety date. Yeah. And I'm going to go ahead and start 75 hard 75 days before that. Dude, some of the things you do are so mind-blowing to me because I know that I'm not going to say incapable. I just know it's never happening. I'm never planning out these huge events to all coincide like you have. And that's why, like I say, dude, maybe it's a Cats and Coffee day for you. It's a collared shirt day for me, baby.
Well, I appreciate you, man. Your friendships meant a lot to me. I reflect on a lot of stuff on this particular weekend. And I also, Monday is going to come around and Monday is going to be Monday. And, we get back to life and doing all this kind of stuff. But I am trying to get better at sitting in moments and actually being like, okay, I can think this is pretty cool. Instead of starting, well, what's the next 6-month plan? And if I haven't done that, I need to be able to sit in this a little bit. And I'm going to take a couple hours this weekend and do that. And thank God for the blessings. My whole thing is, man, it's about pointing people to him. People will get a feel from this book of how unremarkable of a human being I am. But I've done some things that could be considered to a lot of people remarkable stuff. That's him working through me. And that's kind of the message, because, man, if I can do anything, so can anybody else. And that's why the ministry of encouragement that I want to build my life on at this point, that's what this is about. I just want other people to be like, you know what? I think my life's a little bit better because I've paid attention to what this guy's done and had to say. That's going to end up being what I think my legacy is going to be. And that's what I'm trying to build for this next 52 years. So right. I'm thinking I'm about halfway through. So about 52 more years and we'll see what happens.
Right. Well, dude, you were born to lead, and obviously you used to lead people to the bar and to the drug dealer's house.
I did.
And people would follow you.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that the changes you've made, you're now leading people in a different direction. Obviously, we've all had those times where, we've done things and convinced people to do things that later on we're like, whoa.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That was not nice. So
cool,
I'm proud of the guy you are, man. You're leading people in a good direction. And It's very awesome to see.
I appreciate you. If you are good to go, we're going to close up shop today so you can get back into a t-shirt and go enjoy your time in New Orleans. You good?
Right on. I'm going to put on a greasy, ripped up racing t-shirt and back to it.
I appreciate you, dude.
All right, buddy. See you later.